Heyo, welcome into the CHGO White Sox podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can read his work at allchgo.com. Man in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
Our CHGO White Sox community leader, being our producer today, our guy Nate. Yo, wearing a Cheap Trick hat. So shout out to Nate. I think his second White Sox show, unless he did yesterday's.
Nope.
No, all right. So, he's very new. Welcome, Nate, in the comment section. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. And we do have new news. We're building the biggest and best community of CHGO sports fans, and we want you to be a part of it. So much that we're giving you a special offer with our lowest rate ever. Become a CHGO diehard today for just $4 a month billed annually. Just $48 a year gets you a free shirt, access to our exclusive written content at allchgo.com from our guy Vinny, plenty of discounts, and access to our CHGO Discord lounge where we hang out and talk White Sox and many more. There's a Bears chat, there's a Bulls chat, there's a Blackhawks chat. But if you're a White Sox fan, you're probably going to be sticking in the White Sox chat. But go check that out, allchgo.com/intro to sign up today. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the dwindling list of managerial candidates. We have some news out of Texas regarding one of the candidates. We'll be talking about, now I forget, the Rob Manfred talking about Chicago likely being a two-team market from here on out. Were you clapping me? Oh.
Was I doing what?
It looked like you were clapping me.
No,
for
scratching. I had an itch. Sorry.
No, you're good.
But congratulations on remembering what you were trying to remember.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And then Matt Spiegel of 670 The Score on the Spiegel and Home show tossed out some things that he heard about the White Sox overhaul of their analytical department, and now it's got a new catchy name. So not only is it analytical, it's also a little bit marketing. It's a little bit of research and development, Got to make sure we're branding it for the people. So we'll share that with you later on. The biggest piece of news today will be from Evan Grant of the Dallas Morning News Rangers beat. Evan said he's heard from multiple people that Rangers offensive coordinator / bench coach Donnie Ecker is no longer involved in White Sox managerial hunt. Ecker will remain with the Rangers, and Evan also followed up when asked, what about Will Venable? Evan said, I have not heard anything on Will being out of the conversation. So our list dwindles from 10 to 9.
Then there were 9.
And then there were 9. What do we make of Donnie Ecker? And obviously you wrote at allchgo.com today that people can check out about the timeline of this search. So when do we think that we might hear more dwindling, and when do we think we'll get some finality?
I mean, quite honestly, any day now, I think. We are smack dab in the middle of that 4-day gap between the end of the LCS round and the start of the World Series, and it really kind of just logically seems like Chris Getz was kind of waiting for this window, right? Kind of waiting for this time. You have the Dodgers still in it. They're the champions of the National League. They're going to be playing in the World Series starting in 2 days. But 2 of those 9 that you mentioned, reported candidates for the job, are on that Dodgers coaching staff. That's first base coach Clayton McCullough and bench coach Danny Lehman, reported by 2 different sources over the past several weeks that they are in the mix, right? Or at least somehow they're interested, the White Sox, in these guys. So you would have to think that why is this taking so long? Because Chris Getz, who said back in September that he would be respectful of the situations of any teams that might be competing in the postseason as he went about his manager search, he's here getting an opportunity to interview these guys and maybe find if he does either prefer one of them for the job or just trying to get more information to kind of complete the process here. Maybe this is kind of the end of his search, and we could have something pretty quickly here. Again, that's just guessing. We haven't heard kind of the same volume of reports that maybe in other searches or in other cases with even other teams we often do, right, from those national type reporters who always will drop a crumb here and there. Oh, so-and-so's interviewed for this job. So-and-so is interviewed by this job. This team likes this guy. We haven't heard too much of that, but we do have a list of guys that are quote-unquote candidates, really can't go much further than that. But you would imagine that with all the winning that the Dodgers have kept doing over the course of October here, that this is really kind of the first breather that anybody on that coaching staff has had, and maybe the first opportunity that Chris Getz has had to talk to them.
It's kind of like a thing where I, as a White Sox fan, would love to have some finality about who's going to be leading the White Sox into the future. But also, I've been talking for months about leaving no stone left unturned and getting everything you can from these potentially 9+ candidates out there. And I hope Chris Getz is scouring throughout Major League Baseball and talking to all these players, all these managers, potential managers, and getting information from them at minimum, and then making his decision at the end of it. He might have a favorite. Like Clayton McCullum might be his guy that he's just waiting until the end of the World Series to hire him, or they might already have some conversations going for themselves. But I have no problem with it taking as long as it has done. We know what's going to happen before the GM meetings happen at the beginning of November. More than likely, because you would think you would have your bench boss there to introduce himself to all the rest of the people and, get the White Sox season rolling in that fashion. But this Donnie Eckert sounded like the Brian Bannister that we were looking for. Like, who's going to be the guy that's going to fix the offense or have the philosophy that filters down all the way down the minor leagues, and this is how we do White Sox baseball. That's sounded like that guy, and he's probably that guy for the Rangers. And so that's kind of a bummer, but I'm glad that he has taken his name out reportedly for this job, because maybe it's not a fit for him. Maybe he sees that this is a longer-term commitment that he's ready for, and now we're down to the 9 people that have been reported. So I'm good with it. I'm good with the taking your time to make sure you make the right move.
When do we think is more likely of an announcement being made? Before the World Series starts, that would be on Friday. So would we get a manager tomorrow? That'd be nice for the show. Or do we think it would happen after Game 7 if there is one? I mean, if it's, series ends Wednesday, October 30th, probably just announce it on the 1st or 2nd, whatever. But if this plays until November 2nd, the GM meetings start the 3rd, and then the 2nd is a Saturday.
The GM meetings start the 4th. The 3rd is a Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, 3rd is a Sunday. So there's just like one possible day that they could possibly announce a manager.
I guess you do your press conference real early on Monday morning before Chris Getz has to get on a plane. But yeah, it's a tight window, no doubt about it. I guess it also depends, though, on who they come up with, right? I mean, we're talking about a situation where they would be hiring one of those 2 guys who's on the Dodgers coaching staff, making them unavailable for an announcement for a while, right? What if it is just, hey, we want to interview these guys, but we don't know if we're going to hire them.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this gap, once they've talked to these guys, then it's, okay, I'm glad we interviewed them. We found out a lot about what the Dodgers do, about what we could take from that and use going forward, but we're going to hire this guy that we interviewed a week and a half ago. You know what I mean? Like that. Maybe that's the way it comes down, and you don't even have to worry about that. But yeah, there is a situation that you're describing in which it would be a tight window, to say the very least. But I agree with Herb. I mean, you'd figure they have to have a manager hired and announced by the time Chris Getz turns the page to the offseason. I think that basically you can't get to work on your offseason work, and I know the White Sox aren't expected to have a lot of exciting offseason work to do, but even some of the stuff that we've heard about, the behind-the-scenes stuff, right, that appears to be maybe more of a focus than big league roster construction this winter. Don't you want your manager involved in that? Don't you want your manager to be part of that? I mean, Chris Getz keeps using the word partner as what he's looking for here, a partner in this rebuilding process. Kind of hard to move forward in that without your partner, right? So I think that it definitely makes sense that that manager will be in place before the election, certainly before Election Day. Yeah.
And I'm just going to ask you this, Vinny. We saw that Bruce Levine reported in August or September about Clayton McCullum being one of the people that Chris Getz will be targeting. Do you think that while Chris Getz is respecting the Dodgers and what they're going through in their playoff battle, that he's either through back channels or face-to-face has talked to Clayton McCullum? Because it seems very odd that you win the World Series on the 30th and on the 31st on Halloween, you talk to Clayton McCullum, and then you're like, go.
That's why he's doing it now.
Yeah. Like, is it like he's already got his answer pretty much, right? Like, he's respecting that. If he's going to hire Clayton McCullum or anybody else, he's probably going to do it after the World Series, but he doesn't have an interview with him necessarily after the World Series just to make sure, all right, this is the guy.
Well, I think that interview is happening now. Yeah. I think that interview is happening either Monday through Thursday of this week. It's happening right now. And whether they want to talk to Danny Lehman, same thing, right? I mean, the idea of respecting those teams and their playoff run here means we're not going to pull them away from a game, or we're not going to pull them away from travel and make them do a million different things. But when they got this built-in gap, it provides that opportunity. So I don't think they're waiting for, the final out of the World Series to run onto the field and have a job interview with the first base coach over there at the first base. But that interview is probably, if it's happening, being conducted currently, but then that hiring has to come after. Clayton McCullough, Danny Lehman, whoever, and this has happened before, right? Yeah. Obviously any team looking for a manager would be interested in somebody who works for a team that's in the World Series, right? You're not going to pull that person away from everything they've worked through all year long and be like, oh, well, we need you in the office tomorrow, so you can't coach in the World Series. Sorry. Like, this has happened before. I think the unique part of this is that very, very slight timeline, or that very, very small window, if you can even call it that, between the potential end of the World Series and the start of the GM meetings.
Because the Marlins still have to announce their manager too. So
yeah.
I mean, it's not.
We haven't heard anything about them.
Yeah, it's just it's not only a White Sox problem. And Drake asking if McCullough is the guy and the Dodgers win the World Series, what kind of timeline for introductions would be expected with celebrations and parades and such? I think McCullough, if he is the White Sox manager, might just be missing the parade.
Probably doesn't get to go to the parade.
Sorry.
Sucks.
Have your own parade here, Clayton.
Yeah, he'll be remembered, but I don't think that he'll
get that ring when they're going to Dodger Stadium next year, right? Yeah. So he would get that ring. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. He's not hired yet.
Is it out yet? No.
I mean, the actual time, but you alternate year from year.
Yeah. The Dodgers were here this year.
Yeah. One of the Sox. Because, that was like the one July 1st through the 3rd. So that's when Clayton McCullough, if White Sox manager, would get his ring at Dodger Stadium. So there you go.
First place White Sox at that time?
First place White Sox and last place Dodgers. Because Clayton McCullough.
But of course.
Turning this thing around. The timeline thing just is awkward. I also heard someone saying that you don't want to make non-World Series news during the World Series. Is that much of a faux pas? I mean, even if it's not McCullough, right? You don't want to distract players from, Clayton McCullough being the next White Sox manager. But let's say it's just George Lombard. His team's not in the playoffs anymore. Could they come out on October 30th or October 31st if the World Series is still going on?
You're talking about etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, I think they would try their damnedest to make sure they followed that etiquette. But also, you got to hire a manager. You can't be sitting around being like, oh well, we're not gonna hire a manager. We have to wait so long. There are off days during the World Series, and I think that those are times when you have seen in the past teams make similar moves and announcements.
So what I'm getting from you is that if the White Sox were to talk to McCullough, said, "Oh man, that interview blew me away. This is my guy," they would just have the etiquette just to wait after the World Series. And if they were to announce a manager before the World Series, it wouldn't be any of the Dodgers candidates, more than likely.
More than likely. I don't think I could tell you exactly what their calendar looks like in the front office over there, but I would say more than likely you'd probably have to wait until he was done with his current responsibilities to make an announcement.
Yeah, I don't know what Major League Baseball is doing, scheduling the GM meetings just 2 days after the possible Game 7. When you look to the last time the White Sox made a move like this, Pedro Grifol, he was introduced on the 3rd of November. GM meeting started on the 7th, so there was enough time. And I think also I had the World Series pulled up. That ended November 5th. So they did technically introduce Pedro before the World Series was over back in 2022. So if it's maybe not a McCullough or Lehman, it could be announced. Would you be surprised if it's tomorrow?
I don't know if I'd be surprised. I mean, I think you'd more likely see something on an off day during the World Series.
I know tomorrow's the first off day before it, so that was my only thought. Was
right, tomorrow. Yeah, it doesn't start until Friday. But
they did interview McCullough and Lehman during this week, maybe they rule them out and they make their decision. I don't know. It'd be good for the show. That's for sure.
I think White Sox fans probably should be happy that Chris Getz is taking this time and doing this, even if he's going to hire somebody who he doesn't talk to this week. Yeah, I think folks should be happy that he's getting all the insight he can get.
And this is mostly just trying to circle a date. When is it possible that we'll be talking about a next White Sox manager? Maybe it's the 3rd, because that's the only date that is possible if it's a 7-game series between the Yankees and Dodgers. We're going to take a break. We're going to let you know about our friends over at ComEd and Empire today. So step into ComEd Theater with Vinny and Herb.
You know, ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient.
I didn't know ComEd did that, Herb.
Yep. The energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings, Vinny.
Wow. So what does a business have to do?
Just sign up for a free facility assessment at comed.com/biz.
That's all it takes? Why aren't businesses doing that more often, Herb?
I don't know. Maybe they forgot the website.
Oh, maybe. Well, here we go. ComEd.com/biz. 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 ComEd.com.
That should do it. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customer, energy usage, and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law.
I don't understand how people say our live ads are cringe. ComEd.com/biz. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, but Empire cannot be beaten on their quality, service, and speed. So competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire keeps shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection, and their philosophy is simple. It's to help you find what you need and not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. So just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will transform your room. Schedule a free in-home estimate today at empiretoday.com/CHGO. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/CHGO for details. Anything else on the managerial search? I feel like the one other thing it's brought up by, I feel like, White Sox fans who, you know, are pretty downtrodden with the way that the season went was Grady Sizemore isn't that bad, right? There's, you know, at this point, I'm just expecting Grady to be hired. The more we talk about it, the more we hear about these names, I feel like we've put a strike through Donnie Ecker's name because of Evans reporting. I feel like I can put a half of a strike through Grady Sizemore's name. I feel like the Grady is starting to be have a line put through it. Sizemore's not fully lined out, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like this is building up to a Grady Sizemore hire. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that you're seeing quite the effort to go outside the organization and get different ideas and different perspectives. All you got to do is look at this list of candidates, kind of the wide variety of their experience, plus the experience they have that no one in the White Sox organization has, right? Some job titles that just do not exist on the South Side. So I think a modernization effort is underway. A revamp that Chris has been promising is moving in that direction. I totally get why White Sox fans would have that knee-jerk reaction, right? Because there are searches for managers and front office folks that have gone that way in the very recent past. But I think you look at Grady's, under consideration status as a reward for him, not as we're going to just reach for the closest guy. I think they were very happy with the job that he did. Obviously, the players were very happy with the job that Grady did. And I think he went from, here's a guy who will, put in this role for a month and a half because, we like him and we think he's right for the moment, to, maybe this guy is right for more than one moment. Look how good of a job he did right there. But you got to remember that in the same sentence as saying that Grady was under consideration, Chris said, now that doesn't give him a leg up on anybody. And I think that that's probably true. I think Grady maybe sticks around. I think the White Sox like him a lot. But, in terms of will he be the manager, I think people lean in that direction out of, like I said, kind of a knee-jerk, oh no, here we go again vibe. But also because for the longest time, he was the only name we knew. Right? I mean, there was so little reporting until the last few weeks on a lengthy list. There were a name here, a name there, but Grady was the one who was in front of the camera every night. He was the one who, people were the most familiar with. So I think that, name recognition, if you want to call it that, probably took over a little bit there. But yeah, I don't think I would call him the most likely to get the job right now, just because I kind of look at how the search is going and I see a different direction. But make no mistake, like, they like Grady Sizemore. But I don't think they're going to try to repeat themselves in some of the ways they have in the past.
I think in the past, as you said, Vinny, if Grady Sizemore was a real bona fide at the top of the list candidate, I think they would have already hired him by now. And it's not that he isn't a candidate, but it's like break glass in case of emergency. If at the end of the day, Clayton McCullough and others who are probably top of their candidate list say no, or they're not a good mix or good fit there, yeah, Grady Sizemore might be the guy. And I see blank name saying more likely the bench coach. Like, as I said before, if whoever the head boss is sees Grady Sizemore and says, yeah, he can be a part of my staff, or no, he can't be part of my staff, I think Chris Getz has to listen to that and then make sure that he has his new manager be as comfortable as he can, even though the players and the front office love Grady Sizemore. There's time to move on if that new guy's like, yeah, I can't do anything with Grady Sizemore, and or he's like, that guy's part of the past, part of a bad past. I don't want that moving into my future. So it's been all good, Grady. You can get another part of the organization, but you're not going to be part of my bench. So either way, I think that Grady Sizemore is liked by the organization, but I hope at the end of it, it's not him, and he finds a way to just stay with the White Sox. And if he wants to be a manager somewhere else, cool. I think he has the experience to be it somewhere else, as the players really love him, but I hope it's not here.
Do we feel like they are looking for somebody with that game planning background just because of Lehman's introduction? I mean, even Ecker was the offensive coordinator. Is that going to give a certain guy a leg up over one another? Maybe not even managerial experience. Like, McCall has never been a MLB manager, but he might have the leg up over Phil Nevin, who does have major league manager experience.
I think it's a lot to go from where the White Sox have been to jump headfirst into all that. You know what I mean? It's like we haven't been doing all this R&D, analytics, etc. in the past, and now we're all about it. We're all going to be just jumping in to it head first. I think it's a lot to do. I think maybe that will be part of the decision after, but I don't, hopefully not the main decision making for who's going to be the guy in the future, because I don't know if these players, you need to spoon feed them, or you need to just like go from one extreme to the other of them not having a lot of people on the research development to this guy is meticulous. This is what you got to do on this time and that time and that time, and listening to, words that you probably haven't heard before or haven't been explained to you correctly. So I hope that they do more things where it's updated. It's more like Major League Baseball is done everywhere else, but I don't know if the manager needs to be that guy. He just needs to have that type of philosophy filtering down so other players, like maybe Grady Sizemore, who's a major league player, now manager, can filter that in and tell the players via baseball how that translates to their game.
We'll see. Just to update the current power rankings with Ecker out, I put Descalso and Sizemore tied for 8 and 9.
These are Sean's power rankings.
These are Sean's power rankings with
Daniel Descalso.
No inside information and just basing off vibes. Tied for 8, Descalso and Sizemore. They haven't managed. They've been in a major league dugout on the coaching side for a year only. I don't think that's going to be their guy at the end of the day. We'll see. 7, I'll put Phil Nevin just because
it rhymes with 7.
It rhymes with 7. That's a good point. I actually didn't think about that. It's just he's honestly at 7 now because he rhymes with 7. That's a good point.
What's in the box?
6, we'll go with AJ Ellis. That game planning background of being a catcher, but also having the front office view. It seems like that might be important, especially with what we're going to talk about in a second here with R&D. 5, Danny Lehman, a guy that has done the coordinating and the game planning. I think that now that we've seen multiple people with that tagline or that resume, that might be a part of what Chris Getz is looking for. 4, I'll go with the most interesting man in the world, George Lombard. Not interesting enough to be a major league manager, but he's interesting enough to be 4. 3, Clayton McCullough. Again, we're talking about the delay and how this is taking so long. It seems like McCullough's up there. Was one of the first names reported by Bruce, and his name really hasn't gone away. So it seems like McCullough's at least sticking around. And then 1 and 2, I think they'd be over the moon if Will Venable or Skip Schumacher would say yes to the job. I just don't know if these two guys are going to be interested enough. But I think if Chris said, hey, Will, we want you to be our manager. Hey, Skip, we want you to be our manager. They say, yes, I'm over the moon about both of those guys. So I think there's a clear gap between 1, 2, and then 3 there. I think McCullough is the most likely to be the manager, but I think Venable and Schumacher are the best true options. Kind of like what you're talking about with Jay about Snickers being the best candy bar.
It's
just not my favorite candy bar. Like I think my favorite candy bar is Will Venable, but I think the best choice will likely end up being Clayton McCullough. Well, I guess is a Snickers bar.
So Clayton,
I kind of confused myself.
Yeah,
here.
you did. So Will Venable would be the Snickers, and then like Clayton McCullough is like a Reese's cup.
Yeah, sure.
It's a good, solid option, but it's not the best. You'll be happy with the choice you made, but you know that there's a superior candy bar out there.
Sarah was very unhappy off camera when you described Snickers as the best candy.
I mean,
what is the best candy?
I mean,
not a Snickers.
I mean, unless you have a peanut allergy, Snickers is the GOAT. Peanuts, caramel, nougat. What are we doing?
Do you have a favorite?
Well, do I have a favorite?
Yeah,
I have a favorite.
Candy bar.
Nestle Crunch Bar.
Okay, I'm with you on that.
Simple,
Yeah.
delicious.
It's simple. It's got.
I'm
good
not trying to
texture.
claim it's the best, but it's my favorite.
It's your favorite.
Yeah. So I mean, that's your Clayton McCullough. Which is the Nestle Crunch Bar.
Joe, Milky Way.
But you were describing your favorite.
I'm
This
confused.
metaphor has betrayed you, Sean.
As-
Absolutely. I like Joe R saying
Whatchamacallit.
100 grand is the best candy bar.
Would you say,
Joe
Nate?
R's right. Would you say, Nate?
Whatchamacallit?
It's a good choice.
What is a whatchamacallit?
Whatchamacallit?
I don't even
It's
think
got
they make them anymore. Actually.
crispy rice that's like the Nestle bar, a bunch of stuff, peanut butter, chocolate over the top. But Joe R, this is the thing. We were talking, I know we're off topic. Milky Way is just Snickers without the peanuts. Unless you have an actual peanut allergy, you have a superior candy right in front of you.
I like the texture of a Milky Way better because the nougat of a Snickers is a little bit too hard. I do like the fluffiness of a Milky Way. Anyways, let's get into a little bit of this R&D stuff.
Candy draft.
Matt Spiegel of The Score revealed that the team's analytical department made
Sounds
up
way
of,
more exciting than it is.
roughly 10 people, is one that started to see change over the last 6 weeks. I appreciate Sox on 35th for putting this into words and actually, dictating this. But Spiegel said it's the research and development department, not the analytics department, and members of that team have been reassigned to work closely with other departments. So you've got specific members of the R&D department now working with scouting, working with acquisition, and working with player development, creating the kind of genuine synergy that the organization did not have. And this is some of the basics of how an organization needs to run. And it's now in place where they're allowed to talk to each other. There's some new leadership at some of those departments, and they're all not just allowed to talk to each other, forced and pushed to talk to each other. Spiegel did follow up by saying whoever is the next manager, there will be liaisons in place. So the manager can work with the research and development department, and you're not then just kind of hoping the new manager is a numbers guy, that kind of thing. So look, it's a big, messy double-decker bus with the accordion in the middle. It's double lanes and double-decker. This White Sox bus, it's making a turn, and in that self, it's a positive, Spiegel thinks. So we'll get into that after a break because Nate's flashing the brake sign. So Herb Lawrence,
Yeah.
take us through.
Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide variety of high-quality products. One-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city like Wrigleyville or River North or the suburbs, Champaign or Beloit, and more. And if you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands we know and love like Good News and Mindy's. And if you're a pro, we've got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added weekly. We know you'll love Cresco and Florical's incredible quality and consistent products. It's easy to order online, and we're here to help you in store. Available now, Good News' new LTO, limited time offer, Island Vibes. Available for disposable vapes, 510 carts, and live resin gummies. Visit Sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off, 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day. Only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
Thank you, Herb. And I do just want to say it's good to see the candy discussion being fired up in the chat. Okay, we do talk White Sox on this show a lot, 5 days a week, but we also talk candy. Adventure is calling. Answer it this October by shopping new low prices during Jeep Adventure Days going on now at Ray, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Stop in today to browse their huge inventory of new vehicles, and right now shop electric savings like 0% financing for 72 months on new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE and Wrangler 4xE models, or shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you during each step of your car shopping journey. With Ray's Price Promise, the numbers you're hearing now are the same prices you can expect to shop in-store and online. That's because Ray's Price Promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. Since they prioritize affordability for their customers, hurry into Ray CDJR today and shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories, then drive home with more money in your pocket than you'd expect. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com. Serving the community since 1963. So again, we have this whole new rebrand of the White Sox analytics department. It's research and development. How important is it now that we don't get to say the word analytics and this whole boogeyman word can just be put to rest?
Yeah. I mean, listen, this is not new across baseball. This is what baseball teams do. It wasn't what the White Sox did, but it is what they're doing now. So listen, as I keep bringing up, right, Herb, I brought it up yesterday when you mentioned being, having your thoughts on Chris Getz. Think what you want about Chris Getz deserving the job when he got it, but he's delivering what you wanted, which is that focus on what's going on outside the walls at 35th and Shields, the attempt to bring this team that has been described as so stuck in its ways into the modern era of how baseball is played in 2025. I don't know if it's going to work, but man, he's trying. He's bringing in people from the front into the front office from outside the organization. He's revamping these behind the scenes things. Does a fan who shows up and sits in the stands with his Pierzynski jersey on and a line of Kugels in his hand care about the White Sox R&D department? No, not at all. But that's how baseball works today. And if you're wondering how is the product on the field going to get better, it's by doing things the way that every other team across the league is doing them. The White Sox were and have been a dramatic outlier in a lot of those areas. Chris Getz is trying to make it so that's no longer the case. And this is a great example of that. Again, is it enough? Is it where he wants it to be? We don't know. This might just be the first step, right? But it was always going to be a complete makeover, this rebuilding project of his. It wasn't just going to be the 26 guys on that active roster. It was going to be everything involved in this organization. And you're seeing, while that's not showing up on the 26-man roster, all the other parts of the organization, you are seeing, I don't want to use the word progress, but you're seeing steps being taken to modernize those areas.
I mean, just think about what a typical person thinks about when they're just a baseball fan thinks about when they think about analytics. They think about this guy who's got the pencil protector, he's got the glasses, he's never played baseball before, and he's telling people who have played baseball how to do their jobs. And that's the negative connotation the word analytics comes with. So just to get that nonsense out of the way, research and development. That's smart. We're going to be actually, going into studying what we're doing and what other teams are doing, and then developing. Oh, yeah, we definitely need the development. That just sounds softer. Just sounds two words that are just not, controversial in the English vernacular. It's a good way to just spoon feed these baseball players who probably throughout their lives and fans had heard analytics and been beaten over the head with analytics. And we all know how old school baseball fans and just baseball players feel about launch angles, even though one of the people they bring up to talk about, well, Ted Williams never brought up launch angle. He did. He talked about it all the time. And so I think that this is a smart move by the White Sox to rebrand what they're actually doing and actually have these guys and ladies talk to the people around them so that information can be put onto the baseball field. It's the weirdest thing in the world that they were just in a room and not be able to talk to the scouting department and not get this information over to that other team or the other parts of the baseball club. And now we need to get that more involved. And I hope with only 10 people on the research and development club right now, that also increases eventually. Because where the Rays at, like 40? And the Dodgers are in their 20s. You know, there's some people.
Dodgers are in the 40s.
Yeah, and Dodgers.
I mean, I think the Yankees, Dodgers have the most. Rays are just behind them, and then Cleveland's like right behind them.
So, like, you see where all those teams are at. And yeah, the Rays didn't make the playoffs this year, but that's the type of team that the White Sox thrive to be or want to be. A team that doesn't spend that much money, but every year they're competing with one of the best divisions in baseball. So, yes, if they need to dumb it down and to choose a word and a phrase that is not great, dumb it down and make sure that that department is a little bit more advanced than it was before, because the Britt Huioli article in The Athletic a couple weeks ago was just disheartening about how this White Sox organization is both stuck in the past and also not communicating with the rest of the team. That doesn't make sense. Like, how, like, would they just do their work in vain? Like, and weren't they one of the worst positioning teams in baseball? Like, as far as defensive positioning, those things in research and development and or analytics help teams win games.
So we research if a 121 loss team is good or not?
Yes.
I mean, like, it showed up on the actual field how bad they were.
But you could win by the margins if you're better suited, better researched and developed. Like, oh, yeah, you should move for this particular player who hits the ball down the line more than likely than not, should move closer to the line.
Well, and the point is, too, like, it all needs to go together, right? The White Sox aren't going to win the World Series just by turning into a giant computer, right? You also need to get a bunch of guys who play the style of baseball that they said they were going to play last year. You need guys who can catch the ball. You need guys who can, make proper decisions on the bases. You need guys who can make proper decisions in the strike zone. All of that needs to go in concert. But what the White Sox weren't doing was any of it. And so they need to make those big gains across the board. And so they're doing big things in the research and development department. Good. Now move on to the next thing, because they've got a lot on that to-do list, as Chris gets, in order to bring this organization up to where it needs to be.
Yeah, and then Filtration saying, this is gibberish. Do you know how badly you have to screw things up to go from a 93 win and a division title in 2021 to losing 121 games in 2023? Yes. We've covered this team nonstop for 3 straight years, and we've seen the downfall happen. And it's not only just the research and development side, but it is the trading of their star talents. But like part of that too was, their entire organization, the underbelly of the organization, as Chris Getz said, was bad. I mean, Kenny Williams said that they had a ton of different numbers that they were going through, that they had kind of the baseline to survive analytically, but they never really made the investment. And it's likely that when they did have payrolls of 168, I think it was a 181 or whatever when they won the division, like they were putting their money into the on-field product.
Yes.
And now all that on-field product is on other teams. And, you don't have the true underlying of a true organization. They needed to improve their research and development, and they need to improve their health. I don't know really how to state, just their
strength and conditioning.
Conditioning. Like that's obviously the two glaring weaknesses of this organization and have been over the past 4 years. It's clear why the White Sox didn't stay as a top team in the AL Central, because they were passed by all the other, analytically inclined teams that had decent strength and conditioning. They didn't need the All-Stars.
And this is the thing. Like I say it all the time, Phil, the process of the White Sox was bad. The results in 2021 were good. And so what's the impetus to change? There is none. They had gone from the rebuild in 16 to 21. And so seeing the fruits of that, they're like, we don't have the best research and development analytics department, but we're here. And so that's why I'm always harping on, don't look at the results. The result of a division title, excellent. But if you don't have a foundation that is true and good, this is what you have. It crumbles under you, especially when those players who in 21 were good, not good in 22 and not good in 23 or on another team. And 24 was just the wheels falling off the bus.
From 2014 to 2024, the San Francisco Giants have had a 550.5 win percentage. So 500, what is it, 505 win percentage? That's fair. 849 wins to 831 wins. You could do the math yourself, folks. That's 14th in baseball. And we see from Bannister being on the analytics side with the Giants and now coming over, Donnie Ecker, a name that we've been now familiarized with. He was a part of the 2021 Giants team, now then a part of the Rangers in 2023. Like, this is a team built off of analytics, and they're consistently able to be a 500 team, and they have the ability, like in 2021, to win 100 games, right? They're trying to find a baseline, and then having everything go right in a year is a possible way to success for the Giants. The White Sox, since 2014, 0.440 win-loss percentage, 739 wins to 940 losses, 29th in baseball, just in front of the Miami Marlins. I just think it's about finding a baseline, and that if you have, a superstar in Luis Robert Jr., he's not dragged down by the other 25 guys. You can just have guys play average baseball around him. We're just trying to find the ability to have average baseball players. Isn't that a nice future for us?
Not a good marketing slogan.
Hell, we talked about it yesterday with 05, and I know people get a little exhausted of 05. There was no actual superstars on that team. Paul Konerko was great, but everybody was just above average. Everybody played well, maybe above their regular baseball card numbers, but no one really played poorly. Like, all the starters were pretty good. Nobody was a superstar until Jose Contreras did what he did in 2005 into 2006. But there was no oh man, you got this player, because Frank was out, and in his brief time he was there, he was Frank. He hit a bunch of home runs. But there was no great player that carried them throughout. It was just everybody who was just good. Yeah, that was an anomaly type of season, but we need to get back to that type of vibe where everybody just does their job, kind of like Cleveland Guardians are.
But you guys though are talking about the end result right now, right? I mean, you're talking about a good end result. That's an end result that Chris Getz would like to see, but modern baseball, we talk about an organization in the White Sox and an owner in Jerry Reinsdorf who does things like they were done decades ago, right? What were you doing decades ago? You were building your 25, right, man roster to go win the World Series that year, right? Or to do the best they could to win the World Series that year. That's not how it works anymore. That 25 man or 26 these days man roster is the tip of the iceberg, and everything else below water, the rest of the iceberg, is necessary in order to get that very tippy top to the World Series, right? So I think that you saw a White Sox team that, in parts, obviously we saw Rick Hahn bring in a bunch of prospects and try to boost the minor league system, but you saw a team that overall and in certain areas were trying to just succeed with that tip of the iceberg part, whereas what Chris Getz is now trying to do is build everything else. And there's so much more that goes into it than just a research and development department or a strength and conditioning department or the minor leagues or the draft or the international scouting kind of thing. There's so much that makes up everything that is the rest of it. And that's what Chris Getz is focusing on now as he tries to rebuild the organization.
And I push back just on Joe R. saying 2005 is catching lightning in a bottle. I understand why it feels that way for White Sox fans. I think from the Black Sox scandal until 2005, there was 5 playoff appearances. So I understand why that felt lightning in a bottle for White Sox fans. But from 2005 to 2008, they had the most home runs just from Major League Baseball teams. So they just kind of had the perfect, storm of hitting home runs in 2005 and having dominant pitching. I mean, the White Sox I wouldn't say dominant pitching this year, but there was times where the White Sox were in a lot of games for the record that they have because of their pitching. It was just they could not come back at all to score any runs. And then once it got to the 9th inning, it was just that one bloop and one, Michael Kopech wild pitch to move that runner to second and then a single to drive him in. I think that 2005 could still be possible for a Major League Baseball team. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen with the White Sox in 2025. Big shocker. You brought up the Paul Konerko thing. I didn't realize this. In 2005, the White Sox had 7 top 100 players in WAR.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Do you know who was their highest in the American League? Who ranked the highest?
In B-WAR?
Yeah.
In 2005.
For players?
Yes.
The best player on the White Sox.
Position players?
Yes.
No, all players.
No, position.
Just position players?
I would say Aaron Rowan.
No, Rowan's second.
Okay.
Why don't I let you think about this? Because honestly, we have another ad break, and I didn't know we had it. So Nate was flashing it to me.
There you go.
Think about it.
I thought we had one. All right.
There was one more. I know, isn't that? Nate's doing his job, though, so I'm going to listen to Nate. Let's take a break. We'll let you know about Rhoback Activewear. You all know by now we wear Rhoback all the time. It's quite simple. It's the best fit and feeling for men's clothing. The quality of the gear speaks for itself. Their performance polos perform better in the heat than any other polo. They're moisture wicking, so the polo doesn't stick to you and has a nice stretch. And their everyday shorts are also perfect for the combo for a day on the move. They look clean, but they use the comfort of an elastic waistband. With fall right around the corner, what better item to prepare for the season than adding one of their performance hoodies to your closet? They're the softest item we own, and we can't take them off, even though it is still 70 degrees in Chicago. It's not super hoodie weather. I mean, Herb's in a t-shirt. Herb's riding his bike.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful. So, I mean, you could still use the performance enhancing, moisture wicking that this hoodie provides. So go check them out. Use code CHGO Sox 20. That's CHGO Sox 20 on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts when you use code CHGO SOX 20. Make sure to check them out, and they will have you ready for whatever travels and activities you have. Okay, so they had 7 within the top 100. Their highest ranking player, Paul Konerko, 25th in the AL in WAR that year. 4 WAR from Paul Konerko, just behind Gary Sheffield, 36-year-old on the Yankees, and just in front, I guess, tied with Johnny Damon on the Boston Red Sox. Rowan was second with 3.7. Iguchi was top 50 at 2.8, and then Jermaine Dye was outside of the top 50 at 53rd. And then AJ was 61st, Pods was 78, and Creedy 84. But I mean, that's 7 1.5 WAR or better players, but no one better than 4 WAR.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just guys doing their job and really being healthy for the most part.
Yeah, they had a team, and those guys weren't performing over their heads either. They were pretty good players. No one would, necessarily say that Aaron Rowan was a great player. He was a good player, played a solid center field. Every once in a while would run into one and hit over the fence. But yeah, all the rest of them just would hit 10 to 15 home runs, run the bases correctly, bunt when Ozzie wanted them to. But as you brought up, they hit home runs as a collective. I think they hit 200 home runs on the dots that year. And I hate when people bring up, Ozzie ball, small ball. No, they crushed balls that year. And as you said, they had starting pitchers that were fantastic, and the bullpen got the job done. Those are career years with Cliff Polite and Neil Kotz and Bobby Jenks coming out of nowhere to save the White Sox. They did a thing like the Dodgers are doing, sans the superstars that the Dodgers have, but the Dodgers starting rotation pretty much has been depleted this whole postseason. The White Sox closers that year were went from Shingo to Dustin Hermanson, then to Bobby Jenks. They didn't skip a beat. That is the anomaly that I'm talking about, where everything that could go right went right that year. And that doesn't happen in Major League Baseball. Even the injuries, they still got better. They still were good. Yeah, that was a fantastic year. That's what I say the anomaly was. Not that they built the team in a flukish way, that they got all these 99th percentile outcomes from these players. They were just the players that they were, and happened to run into some teams, and they crushed them in the playoffs.
Yeah. Hey, 11-1.
Amazing.
You can get just that tattooed. We have one more thing that we want to talk about. Shout out to Danny Parkinson. What is it?
Park.
Breakfast Ball on FS1. Breakfast Ball on FS1 had MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred on today, and Danny Parkins asked him about the rumors and the reports that Jerry Reinsdorf would look to sell. I think the biggest thing to take away from it, while Rob Manfred said the stadium isn't in the best location, we are committed to having Chicago be a 2-team baseball market. Is this surprising? Is this status quo?
I wouldn't say it's wildly surprising. You've also got to remember, too, everybody forgets this, I think. The commissioner works for the owners.
Yep.
So I don't think you're likely to hear something from a commissioner of any of the major sports that would go against what some of the owners are saying. So when he says the guaranteed rate field is not in a good spot. He's talking about from a money-making standpoint, which is exactly what Jerry is saying. Jerry is trying to obviously get a new stadium built. But if you are still among those who are wondering or worried that the White Sox might be bought and moved out of town, the commissioner of Major League Baseball does not sound worried at all, and he seems to believe that the White Sox are going to stay where they are. In fact, I believe he said he was committed to it or confident that it would be the case. So I think that, and I totally understand why that was a talking point when that report came out last week, but I think we've probably moved beyond that being the main takeaway of that report.
What I took away from Rob Manfred on that show was that it's very unlikely, very, very unlikely that the White Sox would move from Chicago. But if they happen to move from the Chicago area, there's going to be another team there. Like, we're committed to having 2 teams in Chicago. That's what he said, right? So if some dumb owner says, you know what, 9 million people? F that. Let me go to 1.5 million people in Nashville and see how that works out. The owners will be like, you're going to have the Cubs have all this market when we have at least 30% of the people out there disaffected by their team moving to Nashville? We're going to have another team here immediately.
That's not going to happen, Herb.
Why wouldn't that happen?
But no. It's never going to get to that point,
exactly.
Is what I'm saying. I guess what I'm saying is you don't need to back that up with that, because I don't think it's going to happen, because, again, Manfred works for the owners. Yeah. What do the owners want? They would want an expansion team, because all that big money, that big dollar expansion fee gets divided up amongst them. I mean, they're the ones who get the money from the expansion fee. So why would you rubber stamp a team moving when you can just put the expansion team there and get that money tomorrow?
You could do the same with the Chicago expansion, and it's a bigger, better market.
That seems like so many hoops to jump through unnecessarily.
That's one.
Just tell the owner, tell the guy who wants to buy the team and move them, we'll give you the expansion team.
I think Vinny is trying to say that it's too many hoops, and it's likely not going to happen.
Yeah, it's
dumb.
Like,
entertaining the idea that the White Sox would move is stupid and just
really dumb.
Not worth a conversation.
That has only the situation you just described, I believe it's happened before a long, long time ago, but in recent memory, the Cleveland Browns are the only ones, I think, that has happened to, right?
Like
where a team moves. I guess the Winnipeg Jets, counts, right? As a team that went back.
Theoretically, you could say the Charlotte Hornets too, where they lost their team.
Right.
You're right. They got
Charlotte.
their team back, and they got all their records back from the Pelicans.
Yeah. Baltimore Colts back in the day too.
Right. Well, but that's the Cleveland Browns, I guess is the point, right?
Well,
So,
what happened with Charlotte, the Bobcats?
The Bobcats were an expansion team,
right? But then they moved to
the Hornets. Moved to New Orleans.
Hornets moved to New Orleans,
right?
And changed to the Pelicans. They play in Oklahoma City too, and then they had a franchise, with Bob Johnson, named this team after him, and they're like, that's dumb. Let's go back to the Charlotte Hornets, and they retained all the Charlotte Hornets stuff.
Took a while, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think MJ had to start owning them. Yeah. All right. Dumbass Bob Johnson.
So thank you to Rob Manfred for at least clearing that up. Only other final thing, going out to the AFL, where it's nice and sunny. MLB's number 37th prospect, Colson Montgomery, destroyed his second MLB Arizona Fall League Homer of the Year over the berm. In what park are they playing in? Sloan Park. Shout out to the Cubs. In Sloan Park. In his 10 games, and obviously the game is not over, he has a batting average over 333.
That works.
An on-base percentage over 556, and a slugging percentage over 542. And my favorite stat, 4 stolen bases, no caught stealing, 10 walks to 3 strikeouts. And now he's got 4 extra base hits on 9 hits. So very good for the 37th prospect in Major League Baseball.
Repeat performance. He had to repeat a grade, but he's acing it.
Oh, is he ever? I mean, last year he wasn't even this good. He was 244, 300, and 415. So there's some growth for you.
I love it.
I'm excited.
Hey, he had a bad year down there in Charlotte, and now he's like,
you don't need to put quotes around it. It was bad.
I don't know if it was bad.
He wasn't like send him down to Double-A.
He's
bad,
under expectations.
He struck out a bunch, but I think you probably have to expect that he was going to fail at one point. He's still a young player, but now he's showing that, hey, that was just trash. I'm ready. At the end of the year, he showed you the real player that he's going to be. So I'm excited that the kid is getting some confidence. and probably going to win the MVP of the All-Star game there too.
Hopefully, the Fall Stars. Dan's throwing out Houston Texans, but Texans were an expansion team.
No, but
right?
Yes, that is correct. The Texans were they filled in for the Oilers who left to go to Nashville. I understand. Yeah,
and by the way,
that counts. Yeah,
they should get all the Houston stuff. They should get the Houston kit, the powder blues, not the damn Nashville or whatever they're called now, to the Tennessee Titans. You move from a city, you leave all the team, all the history there and all the colors there. You take your bum ass to the Texas, and same thing with the Oakland A's. Keep all the colors there. And if you move to Vegas, your ass is in brown and orange or whatever the hell you want to be in. Don't be in the green and yellow.
Well, they did that. I mean, that's what just happened in hockey. Was they made sure that would happen, right?
Yes.
So Utah is technically an expansion team.
Yes.
Even though it's all the Arizona roster, but the Arizona Coyotes still exist in some pocket dimension or something like that.
That's what I think would happen to the White Sox. I mean, it would just be very similar to that. If they were going to move them to Nashville, they just put that franchise and that brand on ice until they expanded to another team. It's just not going to happen, period. The White Sox aren't going to move. But if it were to happen, I think it happens like that, or even with the Browns, where that franchise was iced until a new owner was put into Cleveland, and then they rebrand that.
I hope we're not
franchise.
Bad like the Browns that just resumed being bad after they regained the team.
And shout out to our guy Jared. He's a diehard, hanging out with us always in the Discord, saying Colson's great against mediocre pitching. At least he's not bad against mediocre pitching. It just shows that maybe it is too much of an assignment for him. And that's better than saying, oh, here's Colson again struggling. So.
We've watched Major League Baseball. There's a bunch of Major League mediocre pitching up there. So let's feast.
Yeah.
Feast. And not everybody's filthy. Not everybody's great.
Have you ever seen the Rockies organization?
Oh,
I think there's
delicious.
2 good pitchers in that entire organization. Shout out to Grumpy Pig and Friends, not being that grumpy. Super chat for $2, saying, I love cheese. There, I said it.
We know what Grumpy Pig is giving out at their house for Halloween.
Just
slices of cheese into the kids'
American
bags.
cheese.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Doesn't
maybe
melt.
some charcuterie. Maybe
No,
some
he's not
chopped
that
up.
fancy.
Oh, fancy stuff.
Yeah.
That'll melt
don't
in
know.
the bag, though. At least if you put those Kraft singles in there, you could just chill out.
Kraft
That's not
singles are
cheese.
yeah.
There's a reason it's not called cheese.
It's like cheese food.
Yeah. It's
A dairy product.
There's a reason it's called Kraft
Yeah.
Singles and not Kraft Cheese.
That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Shout out to Nate for producing the show today. That's Vinnie Duber. You can read his work at allchgo.com. Again, we have this introductory offer for $48 a year. You get the written content up at allchgo.com. You get to join the Discord and chat with us about the White Sox throughout your day, and you get a free shirt of your choice as well. So go sign up at allcity.com/intro. I think it is.
I think so.
Allcity.com/intro. For Vinny, for Herb, I'm Sean. Goodbye.